What up, though, One Pride? This is the Royal Alliance UK podcast, the podcast where One Pride goes worldwide. My name is Antony Fitzpatrick. I'm joined this evening by Ryan McCluskey, which can only mean one thing. It's time for your weekly dose of college knowledge. Yes, it is the college football podcast. Are you smarter than a mock draft simulator? Ryan, we are less than 30 days away from the dance now. We're in the last month. We're nearly there. All the mock drafts are coming up. We're nearly ready for the main event. I don't know about you, but this is where draft fatigue sets in. I'm ready for the main event.
Yeah. Uh, Pro days and that, it's too late. Teams are either in or out. Most teams by now some teams have decided who they're taking already. If they're there, some teams have narrowed down a short list. So you really can't sway them all. But yeah, I'm exhausted. This was the last must energy I could muster because it's very hard.
Yes, absolutely. We've been scouting these guys,
The list to
watching
give you
them.
is terrible, like 15 running backs in a class of like 27 that could be drafted.
I know it's so yeah, that is what we're here for today. We are running the second iteration of our Are You Smarter Than a Mock Draft Simulator challenge. So for those who, in fact, let's go the housekeeping out of the way and then we'll go through that. So Royal Lines UK Discord, if you're wanting on that, let us know. We'll fire you across a link for that. Main podcast, we did defensive tackle prospects in the NFL draft this week. We're going to be taking a look at the offensive line next week. But if you've not seen the D Tackle show yet, do go check it out. It is a lot of good fun. Don't forget to like and subscribe to everything, Twitch, YouTube, all that good stuff. Don't forget we're part of Lions Nation Unite as well. So if you want to support them guys as well, please do so. We're monetized. We're affiliated on Twitch. We've got tip jar. If you want to help us with that sort of stuff, great. But we just love having you all in the building first and foremost. And then obviously we've got the feedback form as well. Any comments about the shows you want to make, anything like that, fill it in. Let us know. We will take it on board. And of course, it's draft time of year, so the draft prospect videos are coming out on YouTube now. You've got ones up for Ricky White and Donovan Azurewaku currently. We're just working through the one for Walter Nolan now. If there's anyone you want us to do one of these for, then let me know and I'll do one for you, especially for those of you who watch us every week. For your Brents, Lisas, Markers, everybody. If you want me to look at a prospect, I will do that. It's the least I can do for having you here every single week. Right, that's all out of the way. So we've got one thing we're here for today. And as mentioned, it is the second iteration of our Are You Smarter Than a Mock Draft Simulator challenge. So for those who are not acquainted with this, for those who've not been with us, well, we've done it before. Basically, I came up with this concept last year. I don't know how, but we get a random number generator on Google, just a random number generator, and we get it to pick 30 numbers between 1 and 257, which are the numbers of the NFL draft picks from round 1 to 7. What I then do is we run a simulated mock draft with no human interference, just a straight up mock draft from the Pro Football Network mock draft simulator. And the 30 numbers that have been picked, the players that land on those particular numbers, we take the numbers, the names of the player, and the team that the mock draft simulator says that they are going to go to in the draft. And then what me and Ryan do is we attempt to get more correct than the mock draft simulator. So we've got 30 players, and we need to predict which teams are going to draft them. Last year, the simulator got 2 out of 30. Ryan also got 2 out of 30, and I got 3 out of 30. So we are undefeated against the mock draft simulator. So fingers crossed, because we don't make this an easy challenge. We don't just pick players that we like. We think we know where we're going to go. It's just first mock, first set of numbers. And it's dropped us a real doozy this year because out of the 30 players we've got, 8 of them are running backs, which is probably the hardest place to predict any position to predict anyone going because their position devalues outside of the first couple of rounds, and it's just a crapshoot after that as to where they might go. And 12 of the picks were after 200. So these are guys who some of these will be UDFA guys, some of them will be late round picks. It's incredibly hard to figure where some of these are going to go because you just don't know when it gets to that point in the draft. So when you start getting to the end of this, the rationale behind some of these picks we make starts to get lamer and lamer. But anywho, we try our best. Now, last year we just went through it and did it as we were, but this year I wanted to try it differently. I've got the I've got the sheet up on here so you can see us doing this as we go along. So I'm just talking about 30 random players. By the time you get to pick 16 or 17, you forget who we've done before and who we've been talking about. So as you can see on this little sheet at the minute, the picks for the Pro Football Network are already up there because I'm just going to reveal them by the line because we've got that little black marker in between. I didn't want to mess around with it, so we're going to reveal the player, the number they were at, and we're going to reveal our picks as to where we think we're going to go. So, like, the first 15 of these should be pretty nice. And then we start getting into territory where they just get absolutely crazy. Mile Marker's in the building. He goes, "Hi, guys. This one was fun last year. 12 picks after 200 and laughs." Yeah, I mean, our knowledge is getting put to the test this year, right? Right? I don't know about you, but I found this incredibly difficult. But I will be so gratified if we win.
Oh yeah, even if I just guess some right, as long as I give a reason why I'm sending them there, then I can still claim that as a win.
Exactly, exactly. So, and we're
If I
not
happen to go
afraid.
undrafted, then well,
It's
an
waiting.
draft don't really win, does it? There's no winner. That's fine.
That's how I won last year. An undrafted one got picked up, and it feels a little bit like cheating. But you still, undrafted free agents are still draft picks technically at the end of the day. That if anything, undrafted free agents will be specifically wanted by the team. I don't know. I think there's still validation there. But yeah, as always, as well, if you've got any questions as the evening goes on, let us know. And when we finish doing this, we'll answer the questions for you. So I'm hoping Matt's watching this while we do this as we go along. So let's get on with the show. So we're going to start with our first pick, and I'm going to just do the big little revealio, and then we're going to talk about it. So who was first out this year? It is no, I don't know if you could hear the drum roll. We have the Edge Abdul Carter out of Penn State. I've done this completely wrong. Bear with me one moment. It should be the lettering that I do. There we go. So at number 4, we got the Edge Abdul Carter from Penn State. He's 6'3", 252 pounds. One of the best prospects, if not the best prospect in this draft coming up. And Pro Football Network have them going has him going to the New England Patriots, which, given the draft board and how it's fallen a bit, I feel is a very good guess from the simulator there. So this is a bit easier at the top right. Do you actually agree with the simulator that Abdul Carter will be going to the Patriots, or do you think he is going elsewhere?
Nope. He's saying he's going to the Patriots. Devin Godshaw's been traded away. Dietrich Wise has gone in free agency. They got rid of Josh Uche last year. Keon White has got no running mate on that defensive line. There's no push this year. Abdul Carter makes perfect sense and he should fall into their lap.
And I think the first ever time for the iteration of this, we all agree, because I also believe he is going to the New England Patriots. The way the board is going to fall at the minute, I think you're going to have quarterbacks at 1 and 2, and then I think the Giants are going to be.
Yesterday they signed a big expensive receiver and
Yeah,
also Carlton Davis, so they don't need Travis Hunter. You still
no,
take him, but now they don't have a pressing need at corner or receiver.
no, and with the Giants and their QB sitch, I think they're going to go for Travis Hunter at 3. So Abdul Carter is going to be the best fit there, and I think the Patriots will look into him. And yeah, I agree. I'm very confident that Abdul Carter is going to the Patriots. So consensus on the board there, right? And if you're watching along, if you want to offer some of your suggestions as to where you think guys are going to go, let us know. We will read the comments out as we go along. So who is number 2 on this list? We have. At number 10, so we got 2 top 10 picks here. The running back Ashton Jonty out of Boise State, the 5'9", 215-pound wrecking machine, 2,600 odd yards that he had this year. And again, the simulator seems to have been very, on the money here. The simulator's got him going to the Chicago Bears. Now there has been a lot of chatter about him going to the Bears and all the Raiders, but this is a smart guess on the behalf of the simulator. So do you think Ashton Gianti is going to end up in Chicago, or is he going to go earlier or later?
I didn't even look at. I've not looked at the PFF draft on board, but no, I have the Bears. This is not a Ben Johnson move. This feels like a trying to hit a home run before he can walk, Ryan Poole's move. Don't get me wrong, they've put so much into their O-line that just having Roshan Johnson behind DeAndre Swift don't hit the nail on the head. Because after guys like that, you've got Travis Homer and Ian Wheeler probably fighting to make the team. This feels like one of those like maybe don't cut your nose spite face, just take him. They're plowing that much money into their O-line. Get the best back in the class. It would pain me to see this move because I would hate it. But Ben Johnson would probably have a plan for him already drafted up.
So this is unprecedented. We are all agreeing again. I do also have Ashton Jonty going to the Chicago Bears, and my reasoning behind this is, and you rightly said, so this is all about the GM situation and the situation of respective teams. So a lot of people think that he will go to the Raiders, but the Raiders have got a new GM. He's the guy who they've just brought over from the Bucks. I can't remember the GM's name, but he was Light's assistant there. And you know what? The Bucks like to do things through the trenches. You build your trenches, you build a nasty football team. That is the philosophy he will have built. And to be honest, the Raiders have a poor offensive line, and they need some help for Max Crosby on that defensive line. It feels like way too much of a luxury pick for the Raiders to be picking a running back at 6. And if they've got sensible, they've got Tom Brady in charge now as well. I don't think they're going to be the Raiders and make that stupid pick, because it's the start of the regime. You don't draft a star running back right at the start of your regime. You build your trenches. The Bears, on the other hand, as you mentioned, Ryan Poles is on a flaming hot seat coming into this year. He does need to win now, and they probably are at odds with Ben and what he wants to do. But Ashton Gianti is a move you make to win now. You think you've done your O-line up, you think it's at least good enough to give him half a shot. You want to take some pressure off Caleb. You take a superstar running back and you do it that way. So I don't think he's going to the Raiders. I think the Bears is the first pressure point, and I think, Poles is desperate enough to make that move. So we are all agreeing on this so far, but I suspect this isn't going to last into a third pick. So let's move it on. And who do we have at number 3 for us and whatever pick it is in the draft? We have, and Matt will be listening for this one very closely. At number 11, we got the wide receiver Tetaora McMillan out of Arizona, the 6'5", 212 outside specimen of a man waiting to see where he goes. BFN thinks that he's going to go to the San Francisco 49ers. Debo's gone. You need this big, muscly, bulky guy in their wide receiver core. It is potentially one of many directions that they can go. So I can kind of see it there from the simulator. But Ryan, do you agree? Is he going to San Francisco, or is Ted McMillan going somewhere else?
Nope. He's going to the Seattle Seahawks 18. You don't get rid of DK Metcalf, then watch Tyler Lockett part ways and bring in an aging contract like Cooper Kupp that will not see out them 3 years at 45 million. You'll get very little value for that. Behind JSN, the poor guy, there's Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Jake Bobo, who, no disrespect to them, like I said, Cooper Kupp, he ain't it anymore. And you've just gone out and got a new quarterback. So to do right by him, go get him an outside weapon. It just makes too much sense on a rookie contract.
So you have gotten going to the Seattle Seahawks, and we are going to part ways for the first time because I have him going to the Dallas Cowboys. Now, for me, when you look at the Cowboys draft needs, they're obviously they need playmakers on their offense. They need running backs. They need wide receivers. But you have gone out and got Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders in this free agency period. And while that's not the creme de la creme of running backs, I think that lessens your need, and especially with the depth of this running back class, I think for them specifically, they can go a little bit later now. They can put it down the absolute needs here. But obviously, you have CD Lamb in Dallas, and then you don't really have a lot else going for you. And you don't certainly have a big imposing asset on the outside who's your outside perimeter receiver who, he likes to block. The Cowboys do like to run the football as and when they can. I think they really need to go out and get a receiver and give Dak some more weapons to justify that massive contract that he's on. It is a big position for them. And I think Ted McMillan is going to be a Dallas Cowboy. If it hadn't have been that, I might have put a running back here at this point, but I just think receiver is where they're going to start this year. So we're all different. Tet's going to San Francisco, Seattle, and Dallas, and this is where the games well and truly begin. Right, let's move it on to our next pick, and a little bit of a gap here down to the next numbers we got given as we start to move a bit further back in the draft. At number 38, we have another wide receiver, the other big star out there, Luther Burden III out of Missouri, 5'11", 208 pounds. Quite possibly the best, guy after catch receiver here. Once he's got the ball in his hands, he is an absolute weapon, and he is going to be a transformative player for whoever he gets to. I think he's going to go a lot earlier. The numbers are just here to show that the numbers they were picked out. We're not saying they're going to be picked here as well, just where they were picked in this particular draft. Luther Burden the third, and the simulator has him going to the New England Patriots. And, I know Stephon Diggs has just gone there, but he's kind of more your outside guy. Burden, you're going to play in the slot a lot. You can play him at the Ys. Well, you can do a lot with him here, but you want to give Drake May his comfort blanket, the one where he can go consistently time and time again. And Burden might make good sense going to New England. But where do you have Luther Burden going to, right? Is he going to New England or is he going somewhere else?
Nope, I've got Luther Burden going to LA Rams. Now, the acquisition of Davante Adams, it just doesn't move the needle for me. He's so hit and miss. He seems to not settle much these days. Like I say, he seems like he's someone that feels like he's on the move too frequently. And they only gave two to Atwell 1 year, 10 million guaranteed, a prove it deal. So outside of Puka Nacua, it feels like, and then the depth behind that is not really there. Tyler Higby's aging, injuries are catching up. You're set with Kyron Williams, but I think you just need another option. Like I say, you've seen Coop go, and this guy, say, can work out the slot, work outside, and can provide some stability to that receiving core for Stafford's final years, and then also for his predecessor.
All right, so you've got Burden going to the Rams. I have Luther Burden going a little bit earlier in this process, but I've got him going to the Denver Broncos. So again, when I was looking at this, you're looking for teams who want this nice safety blanket weapon where they can, he's just going to be such a reliable receiver, especially for a guy who likes to throw under coverage. And Bo Nix at Denver loves to throw under coverage. And you look at their situation there in their receiver room. Sutton is in his contract year. You've got Marvin Mims, but you like to use Marvin Mims as the speed guy down the perimeter here. They don't have a Luther Burden-esque player of his caliber on this team. And I think, if you're Denver and you're looking to catch up with Kansas City and you want to take advantage of them, you've got to start putting points on the board. Yes, you do need the defense as well to keep pad at bay, but you want to go out and really give Bo Nix a treasure trove of guys to throw at this year and build up on that really great first year he had in the NFL. I think Luther Burden in Denver would be a wonderful fit there for them and a great weapon for Bo Nix. So we've all got Luther Burden going in different directions. Let's get straight on to player number 5. And the simulator spat out for us here. Our first offensive lineman. We have the Minnesota tackle, Antony Ryan, 6'6", 330 pounds, a behemoth of a man who has been getting a ton of love in the pre-draft process. There's every chance he could be a first-round pick. He went at 39 here, but he went to the Chicago Bears, and they have an issue at left tackle potentially. They don't know if he's the guy going forward there, and they still need offensive line depth. So certainly is a position that he could go because they're picking 39 and 41. So if they want to go to a tackle in that position, they could. But do you agree, Ryan? Where is Antony Ryan going for you?
For me, he's going to the 49ers. They have an aging O-line. Trent Williams, don't get me wrong, he's still up there, like say, as a top 5 tackle, but Father Time is going to begin to catch up with him very soon. I think getting in a rookie that's not ready to start right away and let him learn his craft for a year, 18 months. You're fine on the other side, Colton McKivitz, 28, 5 years experience. He's just fine, so he can anchor his side too. This line, it's good now, but like I say, we've noticed when the injuries start piling up and it's getting a bit older that it's starting to show chinks in its armor. It's time to quickly refresh that because they want to run the ball and they want to run to pass, so that they need to get the future in either tackle position this year. So get him now, and then in a year's time, hopefully he's set when they do decide to make a decision what they're going to do.
Like that fit, yeah, I really. I think that was one of the teams I considered doing this, but I've gone in a slightly different direction here. So I have him going to the Kansas City Chiefs, and I reckon they may snag him just towards the end of the first round. So for me, when I look at the Chiefs and what they're about, so Ursary himself, he is a Kansas City native. He played at Ruskin High School in Kansas City, so he is a Kansas man at heart. But it's not just where he's from; it's the need as well. So you look there, obviously they've just brought Jalen Moore in to a deal at left tackle for a few years, but for me, that he's not cemented as a starter there. I don't think you are going to run with him for that entire contract. There's possibility there. But then you've got Jawan Taylor at right tackle as well. And I think they're starting to get fed up with him and his offside, his setting too far back from the line of scrimmage all the time. I agree. Ursary needs a little bit of time to bed in. So if you put him into this Kansas team, could probably get him in and at least supplant Jawan Taylor by the end of the year. And if you want to use him as your franchise left tackle, which Ursary can be at the next level, there is a lot of people who believes he can be a franchise left tackle. This is the place you send him, where he can be in the depth, snag that right tackle position, and then eventually move to left guard and be their guy of the future. But for me, he fits all what they're about. He is quite nimble, he's quite athletic as well. He'll get up to the second level, he'll do all and they're a run heavy team as well. When they want to be the Chiefs, they'll want to do that more this year to keep it off Mahomes' back all the time. So I really do fancy Ursary to go at the end of the first to the Kansas City Chiefs, but he will be going early somewhere. Right, let us move it on. Who did the simulator pop out next for us? We have another running back, the second of our 8 here, and it's the other one right at the top of the chart of running backs potentially. Running back 2 for a lot of people. We have Amarian Hampton, the product out of UNC, 6'1", 220 pounds, insanely talented running back. I have him as my running back 1 in this cycle in front of Giante. He is going to make someone very happy, but who is it? The Pro Football Network mock draft simulator has him going to the Cincinnati Bengals, who currently sport Chase Brown at the top of their depth chart. So he's walking into a running back 1 job immediately on that team as it stands. And the Bengals do need to protect Joe Burrow and run the ball a bit better. So I can see that. But who for you, Rye, gets one of the best running backs in this draft in Amarian Hampton?
I have him going to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Ooh.
They've got an odd quarterback situation going on right now. You've gone and got DK Metcalf, and right now you don't know who's going to be throwing in the ball. But in recent years, you've invested serious capital. 2 first-round picks, Troy Fautanu, Broderick Jones, and then you make an interesting decision to let Najee Harris walk. And that leaves Jalen Warren as your starting back. And you're going to need someone in straight away to combat with him for that starting job, share the roles as rookie year, and take off the pressure, whoever the hell the quarterback's going to be this year. I agree with you, Amaya and Hampton is like 1B in this class for me. And I want him to go somewhere that wants to give him the amount of carries and it's also investing in a young O-line as well for the future. He could have a great season behind this line, depending on if they get some shaky quarterback play.
I like that fit. I really do. I think that could be a perfect situation for him there. Another one I did consider. I've gone off in a little bit of a tangent here, so I've got him going to the Las Vegas Raiders. So we talked earlier about, for me, Giante's not going to the Raiders at 6 because they need to spend that 6th pick on the trenches somewhere. You either your offensive or defensive line. You want to get a star player either to help Crosby or to protect your new quarterback. But they do need a running back. They do need to take the pressure off whoever is under center for them. So you spend your 1st round pick on the trenches. I don't think there's going to be a glut of running backs in the first round. I think Hampton slips into the second, and the Raiders take him early there. Say the dilution of the running back market for me will push some of these guys down. But the Raiders do need a running back one, and if you can get Amari and Hampton just at the start of that second round as your running back one, and you've got a blue chip player as well on your offensive or defensive line, I think that's very smart business from the Raiders to be able to do that, and that's sensible team building rather than spending six on your running back. So I've got him going to Raiders, and I think, he's exactly the type of running back you want there. He will run for days. He has taken a hell of a load at UNC. There's not many of the depth players have seen snaps behind him. He is a workhorse. He will give you 20, 30 carries per game, and he won't break down. His injury is durable. 220 is a big bulldozer as well. And when you're coming up against some of these teams who, like the Chargers defensive tackle Sitch at the minute is a bit up in the air. The Kansas City Chiefs outside of Chris Jones, a little bit up in the air at the minute. If you can get a successful run attack going, that's one of your ways to get back into that division very quickly. So I've got Amari and Hampton going to the Raiders. Right, who is next on the list? Let's see who it's spat out for us. Oh, look, another running back. Third of our 8 on here. So this time, interesting one. We've got the running back Caleb Johnson out of Iowa, 6 foot, 225 pounds. Another of these heavy set running backs, the bell cow styles. And Caleb Johnson he's been this Iowa offense for several seasons now. He's been that good. They would have been absolutely nothing without him. Another bell cow, another guy who's going to give you a ton of power running at your disposal. Pro Football Network has him going to the Denver Broncos. Obviously, they've just let Javonte Williams go. They probably are in need of a running back themselves. And actually, again, this mock from them does make a lot of sense. They need a power back, and he's got him going there. But Ryan, where do you have Caleb Johnson going in this draft?
For all the exact reasons you just said, I have him going to the Vegas Raiders. They're not going to spend a first round pick on a running back. They just signed Raheem Mostert. And yes, he's coming towards maybe the back end of his explosiveness, but they can wait till round 3 probably to pick up Caleb Johnson. Like I said, they've got Sincere McCormack, Zamir White. They've got a committee already, so they don't need to kind of blow their load straight away. But they could do with a power back. Like I say, Raheem Mostert, yeah, maybe good now, but you're going to get year 2 max out of him. It's maybe time to ingrain a young rookie in now and then let him take over in future.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. Mike Barker and Danny Mack are in the building. Hope you guys are doing well. I hope you're enjoying the challenge so far that we are doing. So for Caleb Johnson, gone down a little bit of a different path here. So I have got him going to the Cleveland Browns. So a few different reasons for this. So Caleb Johnson, what he's done, Iowa run a zone running scheme for the most part. So for me, that's the best sort of system he fits in. The Browns do love to run that power zone run scheme, and that's where Johnson thrives as a rusher. He's their type of running back as well. Obviously, they chose not to keep Nick Chubb, 5'11", 227 pounds. Caleb Johnson, little taller, 6 foot, but 225 pounds. Again, he's in that workman-like mold where you want him to run the ball first and foremost rather than being a pass-catching running back. I think he's going to be a very good pick there because you're probably going to get him round 2 or 3. The Browns need to take care of their quarterback situation first. They need to take care of some trench situations first, but they do need a running back in that style. And I think he will be a good replacement for Nick Chubb, given where you will get him in the 3rd round. It also helps he is an Ohio native as well, so it'll be a homecoming for him. They're probably going to be quite well acquainted with her. I know they've had a couple of visits with him as well, so I'm taking him back on going to the home team here. So Caleb Johnson I've got going to the Cleveland Browns. Right, let us move on. Who do we have next? Oh, no. Let's get there. At number 52, and this is the one I'm really, really interested because Jackson Dart, Ryan has been a fan of more than most for a long time now at this point. The Ole Miss quarterback, 6'2", 225 pounds. There was a mock draft the other day that had him going at number 3 behind Cam Ward and Shadur. No one knows whether he's going to be a starting QB or a high-level backup or who knows, but he popped out at number 52 on the simulator here, and they had him going to the Seattle Seahawks. Now, I don't know if I did this before the trade was made there, so maybe I've screwed over the simulator a bit here, but they will need a backup going forward, and if they want a couple of years, and Darnold might not be a sure thing there. They might want to get out after 2 years. You want a talented rookie behind, so you've got no, layover from a quarterback hangover potentially. But right, this is a quarterback you have watched for a very long time, and I'm sure you have ideas about who would like him the most and where he would fit the best. So, where do you have Jackson Dart going in this draft?
Now Jackson Dart going to the New York Jets. The hiring of Aaron Glenn, I think, is a good hire for a rookie quarterback because he is a father figure. Like I say, he's passionate. Like I say, he's caring. He will chew a guy out and then, like I say, he'll put his arm around him. A lot of our young guys really responded to him. And the inoffensive deal they gave, don't get me wrong, I want Justin Fields to succeed. I liked him. I felt like he was always put in a bad situation, never given a chance to operate. I want him to do well and do really well. But like I said, the 2 years, they're not that expensive. The Jets can get out pretty easily. If they do want a passing quarterback to maybe also amalgamate his rookie year with a running quarterback, I think this could be the route to go down. You've got like guys like Alan Lazard, you've got Garrett Wilson. Like I say, you've got good options. You've got Breece Hall out of the backfield. You've got some options. Like I said, that they are a good passing threat. We didn't always see it at times, but that's quarterback playing a lot of bad coaching. Like I say, they're getting, like I say, a potentially good explosive offensive coordinator first time. This kind of just feels like one of those offenses, and there's little expectation. And obviously the fans will put him under pressure, but there really won't be any pressure right now for him to win now. He can ingrain himself in. And if all goes well, could be the guy that turns around a passionate team and a passionate fan base. But right now they're set at the position. He can just kind of work his way in.
See, I'm also thinking along the same lines of you. I'm looking at teams who've got a quarterback situation for a year and then it's uncertain afterwards because that's not going to preclude them from taking a quarterback. And for me, I've gone down again a little bit of a different route here, but I have him going to the Miami Dolphins, and I would really like to see this one happen. So, in terms of Miami, Tua is under contract for another 4 years, but he has no guaranteed money on his contract after 2026. So going into next year, he's got no more money left on that contract that is guaranteed to him. And with the issue he's had with his concussions, obviously three high profile concussions at this point, he was 31st in the NFL in big plays last season. He was not airing it downfield. And when he was, it was inaccurate and not to his usual standard. For me, the situation in Miami is dicey at best, and you are potentially paying Tua a lot of money. And if you are going to cut him next year, you're saving a ton of money on the cap over the next 3 years because you're not playing him and you don't owe him anything. So it's easy for them to get out of that contract next year. And if Jackson Dart is going to sit for a year behind Tua, or who knows, even challenge him at some point this year, it's going to be a situation where he's not going to be the day one starter. He is going to be able to find his way. He's going to be able to get a bit of match experience under his belt. And then you can bring Jackson Dart into the starting team for 2026 if Tua doesn't live up to it this year and you decide you want out of that contract. So I would love to see Jackson Dart in Miami. And I think he will go in round 2 or 3. I think Miami they'll spend their first on some other more pressing need for them, and then they'll go and get their quarterback because you just can't rely on Tua to be healthy. And they've had a lot of problems trying to replace him in previous years. You think of the plethora of quarterbacks they've had in there that have just done nothing for them. You can't afford to have a bad sitch there. So I think Jackson Dart in Miami makes a whole ton of sense. Right, move on to the next guy. And this is very intriguing, and I'm intrigued to see where you've sent him here. At number 53, so we got a lot of numbers in this area here. We have the linebacker Carson Schwessinger from UCLA, 6'2", 225 pounds. Some say this is Mr. Do-It-All. You know, took a big step forward as a blitzer last year, but first and predominantly, he's good in coverage, but he tackles like an absolute unit for that UCLA team. He is going to be your green dot potentially for the next 10 years. That is the kind of guys, and I think he probably goes higher than this. Pro Football Network again. They got him going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Levante David's about to retire. You're going to lose some people in that linebacker room. You could do with an extra guy in there. I could see it. For most of the mock draft Sims picks, I can see it so far. And he could absolutely be the middle of the jigsaw in that Bucs defense to keep it going forward, because that is where they thrive. And with his blitz ability as well, I can absolutely see it. But Ryan, where do you have Carson Schlesinger going in the draft?
I have him going at 52. Seattle. He just feels like a Mike McDonald kind of guy. Like I said, the guy wants to predicate on defense. He's lost loads on the offense. And the offense, like I said, the defense, they've lost guys like Josh Brooks, which they took first round picks on recent years. Right now, their linebacking core, you've got a rookie Tyrese Knight, you've got an Ernest Jones that, like I say, was like traded, then cut, then traded and came back again. Kind of feels a little bit messy. It feels like a defensive coordinator really needs like his guy out there. And as you say, Schlesinger, I'd love him to try. He can do it all. I think he can be the kind of guy that takes that defense by the scruff of the neck. I want to see the Legion of Boom come back. Like I say, safety, got the corners, work on the safeties, add a linebacker in. I want to see Seattle going back to playing its brand of physical defense. I think you start here and you sort out the middle because there's too much turnover in recent years.
See, I'm thinking along your lines. I've kept him on the West Coast as well, but I actually have him going to the Los Angeles Rams. Now,
Imagine
everyone is
that
going to
kind that
be
defensive front.
everyone's going to be screaming at me going, the Rams don't take linebackers that high. And hear me out here while we do this. So it is my belief the Rams are going to trade back out of 26 in this draft. I don't think they're going to pick there. I think they're going to trade out and they'll be a big candidate for it and get some extra picks in there. But you think about that team and the investment they've made on that defensive line the last year. You had Braden Fisk come last year. You had Jared Verse come last year. In free agency this year, you've had a Poona Ford to the middle of that defense as well. You've put a lot of investment into this line. At linebacker, you've not got a great deal, and whilst they traditionally have not valued the position, I think this year you will see, because last year, who went to the Chargers last year and transformed that defense around? Diane Henley. What is Diane Henley? Diane Henley is a do-it-all linebacker. He is a guy who is great in coverage. He's great in your middle linebacker spot. You can also blitz him as well. We were waxing lyrical about him for ages. And how good did he look in that Chargers defense last year? I think the Rams are going to look at that and go, maybe this is the point where we change our ways. Because again, Schlesinger for me is going to be your green dot for a decade. You only need to make this one pick, then you can go back to picking a load of mediocre linebackers around him, but you've got to have a leader in that unit. And for me, you keep him on the West Coast. He's well acquainted to playing over there. I think he would fit that defense like a glove. And if they do trade back as I expect them to, I think they'll be more willing to give up a higher pick for this guy because they've got more to play around with in that group because they're not picking between 26 and 90. So trade back, get him there. I think that's where he goes. And I say, you've seen what Henley's done in the other LA team. That's what Schlesinger will do there. Let us move it on. And we're starting to get away from the top of this now. So this is where it starts to get a little bit dicey. Who do we have next? Interesting, because there's a guy who's linked with the Lions a lot as well. We've got the cornerback Darian Porter at number 62 out of Iowa State, 6'4", 200 pounds, a big money man indeed, who's getting a lot of love in this process here. He's big, he's physical, he's good in coverage, he's coming from a team that's just absolutely slayed it with its draft projects this year. Pro Football Network haven't gone to the Buffalo Bills. Obviously, they've traded away Kyer Elam. They're starting again from the corner position, so it is part of their list, and maybe they will part with one at this point of the draft. But Ryan, where's Darian Porter going for you?
I've got him going to the Washington Commanders. Like I said, Iowa Cyclone, they like man coverage, and the Commanders were sixth in man coverage snaps last year. They like a big corner. Benjamin St. Just, they just let leave in free agency. He was like 6'3", 6'4". And the Marshall Lattimore trade for me was a mistake. He missed what, like the first 5 games with a hammy. They knew he was hurt when they got him. This guy ain't going to be around much longer. It feels like he's on the decline. And they need a guy to opposite Mike Sinner still. In the slot, you've got Noah Igbenogany. It doesn't fill me with confidence at all, their secondary, for a team that is going to be expected to compete in Super Bowls next year. So while Marshawn is kind of on that downward decline, potentially could bounce back, but give him a rookie to learn from. Like I say, Porter is physical. He jams at line of scrimmage. He's got a big frame. He's kind of got everything they need for a team that wants to play a large amount of man coverage. Don't have to start straight away because they've got pieces in place right now, but could be the learn option ready to take over as straight as Marshawn decides to hang him up.
Yeah, absolutely can see that one there. So for me, Darian Porter, I have got him going to the Carolina Panthers. Now, this is obviously a team who was the worst defense by far in the NFL last year, and I expect a lot of their picks to be defensive based this time out. But for me, this is a good situation for him to drop in. So he's had a top 30 visit with them, so I do know he's on the radar here, but this is a position of need for them eventually. So obviously they've just paid out the big money contract to JC Horn, but then you got Mike Jackson opposite him at the moment. You got Chow Smith Wade at the nickel, but your depth is lacking. There's really only a Caleb Evans behind him at the minute to provide any sort of cover, and he's not exactly had the most glittering of careers so far. Darian Porter needs a little bit of work, so if you do want to play Mike Jackson for a bit to start the year, but this is a team that cannot defend against the run, and it's a team that needs to get a whole lot more physical and violent on this defense, and Porter at his size and what he brings, first, your run defense is going to get better, and two, you're in a situation where you can bed him in a little bit because you already have a star at corner and he can afford to take his time to accustom himself to the NFL in the right situation, in a right room full of vets. And I expect them to go hard early. So Darian Porter, I've got going to the Carolina Panthers. I think he would do very well there. Right, let us move on to the next guy. Who do we have? Coming out of here, we have the edge, Kyle Kennard at number 65, the South Carolina Gamecock, 6'5", 254 pounds, unbelievably disruptive edge player. He was the sack leader in the SEC this year, possibly in the nation as well. And Pro Football Network have him going to the Giants to go with an already stacked edge room. Maybe the first one of theirs I truly disagree with at this point. I don't know whether they will that high, but there's no doubt in Kyle Kennard is getting slept on, Ryan. What he could become is absolutely insane at the next level. He just tore everything apart this year. Needs a little bit of work in terms of the run game stuff and that, but he's very versatile. He can fit a 3-man front, a 4-man front. Who for you is going to take the plump on him and make him a star?
For me, this is the first player, like I say, he's a Lion.
Ooh.
The Lions have not invested in free agency heavily on the exterior of the defensive line. They have not gone after that pass rush. And Kyle, as you say, needs to work on the run game, but he's got twitchy speed, he's got big frame, he's got length. He is a pass rusher. And like I say, he's done it and been violent. He's got a good tool. And like I say, he fits what we need right now. Like I say, he can make those kind of plays as a rookie, and then hopefully can pick up a bit. Like I say, going forward, take a larger slice of the pie. Like I say, they brought back cheap guys like say Davenport. They're going to expect Pascal to be that big kind of end, but there's no reason not to throw another guy in the SEC mix in again. So yeah, I really think he's got a great fit here, and he's kind of in that in between our second and our third round pick kind of space.
You absolutely see that. Wouldn't complain. Lisa's in the building. Hope you're doing well, Lisa. She goes, "What's the spreadsheet show?" So if you're a bit late to this, so this is our Are You Smarter Than a Mock Draft Simulator challenge. So basically what this spreadsheet shows, we have a random number generator, pick 30 numbers between 1 and 257, which are the draft numbers. We run a simulated mock draft with no human interference in it whatsoever. And the 30 players who land on the numbers are picked We take those names and we take the names of the teams that the simulator sent them to. And what me and Ryan have to do is we have to guess where these players are actually going to be drafted. So we're working against the simulator. So you can see Pro Football Network. This is where the teams that it thinks these players are going to go. Me and Ryan are trying to guess the teams where we think they're going to go. So hopefully that explains that for you. It's a draft challenge that we do every year. So back to Kyle Kennard. For me, and this is not going to go down well in Lions Land, but I've got him going to the Philadelphia Eagles with their last pick of the second round. And for me, what do the Eagles love in their defensive linemen? They love explosive developmental picks on that D line. You think, Jordan Davis, guys like that. I know they were picked in the first round, but they were raw, but they were athletically gifted as they come. He has that instant pass rush threat, which is going to work for them in a three-man front or a four-man front, whichever they want to work with, whilst they build him into that three-down guy. His motor is hot. His effort is hot. He just screams Philly Eagle player to me. And of course, they need to replace Josh Sweat this year. Now, I think that they're going to go down maybe the tackle route first, or I think maybe they'll even go safety in the first round to replace CJ and with Reed Blankenship in a contract year. So I expect them to go that way first and then go for the edge afterwards. But I look at Cal Kennard and he screams Philly Eagle to me, and that would be devastating for us. So, but I've got to try and guess correctly where these guys are going to go. So there we have it. Right. Who's the next player who the simulator put up for us? Let's have a look. And we got another running back at 83. Sorry, we're going back a bit of time here. We got the running back Travion Henderson out of Ohio State. He's 5'10", 208 pounds. And, Ryan, you've already sent a running back to the Steelers. Well, the mock draft simulator did as well, just a little bit later. They got Travion Henderson going to Pittsburgh. They need a running back. They're probably not going to, I don't know if they'll spend the first round pick on it. We certainly a first 2-day pick was probably going to go to a running back for them. But for you, where does Travion Henderson end up in this draft?
I've got Henderson as a Cowboy. Jerry Jones was too tight and watched Rico Dowdle, one of the only consistent players last year, go out the door for 1 year, $3 million. And then bring in Miles Sanders, who, let's be honest, isn't convincing anybody. Like I say, his best days might behind him, and a Javonte Williams that's had nagging injuries and been a long time since career year. That running back room just doesn't do it for me. They don't move the needle. As you say, I think at like pick 76. Well, at second round, third round, you can pick up Travion Henderson. He's a day one starter. He's pounding a rock straight away in Dallas. Like I say, he's got that kind of that Zeke juice that they've not had for a long time when Zeke was at his best. They need a running back to go back to those days because, yeah, they need someone to take take the pressure off Dak, kind of like say, just give him a little bit of room to breathe.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. So I have him going to the Denver Broncos, and mentioned the Broncos do need a running back going into this year. For me, he isn't going to be a round one candidate because he's not been durable enough. He's had a lot of injuries in his career, and then of course he's been splitting the rock with Quinshon Judkins this year. So you're going to ask yourself, how high is the right price for him? And a round one pick is too much, especially the Broncos who are picking at like 20. There's no way they're going to go running back there. In my opinion, I think they're going to wait a little bit, but they need someone, as Ryan mentioned, who has running back one potential, but you don't want to pay the first round pick for them. But you want someone who could maybe be more of a sure thing than a complete development project. For him, he's kind of like Javonte Williams in a way. You run him first. There is potential to be a little bit of a better receiver through the air, but we've already loaded Denver up with receivers at this point, and I think they will go wide receiver early to complement Bo Nix a bit more. But they'll need the running back, and I think he'll go in round 2 or 3 to Denver. They're picking about 51. I think that might be his area. They'll go and get the running back one at that point. So Travion Henderson, I've got going to Denver. So let's move it on. And who do we have up next? We have a safety, the first one, and one of the more intriguing safeties in this class because he's coming off a serious injury, but we all know just how great he can be. It is the safety, Kevin Winston Jr. out of Penn State. He's 6'2", 208 pounds, mocked in this one at number 94 to the Cleveland Browns. Now, I'm not going to lie, I don't know the Browns safety situation, so I'm just going to gloss over PFN's pick there. But, there's no doubt in Ryan, there is a highly talented player in here. It's just how much is the injury taken out of him, and can he get to be what we know he can be? He's this long, rangy type safety. Some might say an Ifiatu Melifonwu type player. But where you got him going in the draft?
I've got him going to the Chiefs. Like I say, they love day two gold. Willie Gay Jr., Nick Bolton, they got them both there. And yeah, they just lost Justin Reed, one of the best tackling safeties in the country. And what does Kevin Winston do better than most? He tackles. He's long, he's rangy, he's great downhill, and he's in a straight line. Yes, he's coming off a serious injury, but he can mix in with Brian Cook and Jane Hicks. They don't need an immediate starter. They can kind of let him rehab and work his way in. And he could be one of those next players that, yeah, they could get him late day two and he could turn out to be a star and they just have a great knack of coaching it. And Steve Spagnuolo, like probably one of the best coaches that could kind of give this kid to.
Yeah, absolutely can see that. So you've got him going to the Kansas City Chiefs. Me, I have him coming to the NFC North, and I have him going to the Chicago Bears, and he might be one of Ben Johnson's draft picks there. So for me, I think he's going to go a little higher than this in the draft. I think that his injury concerns are not so much that people are going to put off. They've got the picks, obviously, at like 39 and 41. I expect him maybe to trade back in with one of those just to acquire some round three picks or some late round two picks, etc. But you look at them, first of all, they do love their Penn State safeties. You've got Jaquan Brisker on the roster there, but you look at the safety sitch. So Jaquan Brisker is coming into his contract year, probably going to demand a lot of money. Obviously, he was injured last year for the most part, but his first 2 years, he really put the production in there. And you expect him to get paid at some point soon. And then you've got Kevin Byard as well, who's going to be 32 next season. He's not going to be a spring chicken. And then after that, the depth chart sort of dries up for them just a little bit. So you've got guys like Jonathan Owens in there, but he's a career, sellout who goes around ever. They got no prospects coming through outside of these two guys. I think they're going to need to take another safety, and they're going to want someone who's a little bit different to what they've got at the moment. But they do like the ball hawking guys, but the long, rangy player in there. Ben's worked with Iffy. You've seen what he can do in our part of defense, especially when things are working right, especially Iffy's ability to blitz a quarterback and get the sacks. And that's what the Bears are all about. They're about getting sacks. I think they'll love a player in his mold and image, and they'll be picking in the right area for him. So I think Kevin Winston Jr. will appeal to the Bears, and they will go out and get him. So I have him going there. Right, let's move on, and we shall move on to the next player. And we have our first tight end. Terrence Ferguson out of Oregon, 6'5", 255 pounds. He is a career Duck. Had really good last couple of years for them. He's been a reliable pass catching tight end for them. He will be a reliable pass catcher from day one in the NFL. You want the blocking just to get a little better. He's 6'5", he's quite tall, but he's got the right weight. He's got the mass. He's got the frame that you want. Pro Football Network has him going to the Rams, which I guess you do with Tyler Higbee's sitch there. I guess I could see that happening, but where have you got the Oregon product going, Rye? Where's the big tight end going to end up for you?
For me, he's going to the Indianapolis Colts. Now, they're set at receiver. Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman Jr., Josh Downs, and you've got A.D. Mitchell behind that. Like I say, your quarterback situation right now is a bit up in the air, but when I think about historic Colts football, I always think about them like having historic tight ends. Like I said, they've really liked their tight ends in the past, and right now they've kind of just been diddling about in recent years. They've not managed to have anyone that's really stood out and been able to take that position by the scruff of the neck. Going into the season with Drew Ogletree and Jelani Woods, it's not great. I think it's a good time to invest in a cheap, like say, maybe a day two, day three option at the position to help, like say, give a security blanket to whoever wins the quarterback job. Like I said that. So up in there, yeah, they're pretty much set. Their offense is starting to get there. It just needs a few pieces, and it could do with, like say, a guy that can block because they want to run the ball and then break out and help the wide receiver core.
All right, so you've got Terrence Ferguson going to the Colts. I have him, and this is the third time I've got this team here, but I do have him going to the Denver Broncos. And, I don't pick all these players in here. I can't get them all right. But for me, at tight end, you've just got Evan Ingram, who they've bought in and they've paid. But he's not going to be a surefire thing. You're not going to have him around for too many years now. You still need to get your long-term tight end target for Bo Nix there. And who better for him to play with than the guy who helped set up his college career and set him really going? This is a trusted target. And as I said, when you bring him up to the NFL first and foremost, you want him to be a pass catcher. That's where he's going to give immediate impact for you. And for me, you are still trying to give Bo Nix more targets in Denver, and to give him this big 6'5" tight end who he's familiar with, who he's going to be able to scheme open and be able to, get good chemistry with quite early, and to be the long-term successor for when Evan Ingram's done, so you don't have to pay anywhere near as much money at this point when you go into. I really do fancy Terrence Ferguson to be the long-term tight end solution there in Denver for Bo. Right. Let's move on to the next one. And we have here a defensive tackle. First one we've got. So, and one who's been sent to the Lions a lot. So we've got the defensive tackle Omar Norman Lott out of Tennessee, 6'3", 315 pounds. A very highly combustible and explosive defensive tackle at Tennessee, who on his day is an absolute game wrecker, but he's not played the most amount of football in college football, and he's been around for quite a long time as well. I think he was averaging 17 snaps a game or something this year. But when he's on, he's on. And Pro Football Network have him coming to the Detroit Lions. So it's obviously been using the algorithm and looking at the mock drafts and seeing he's been mocked here a lot. And, we do need a DT this year. So PFN's got Omar Norman Lott coming to the Lions, right? Do you? Or do you disagree?
I've got him going to the Carolina Panthers because their D line is dreadful. I think in recent years, if you look at like their grades, it's one of the worst in years. They don't get to the quarterback very often. Dreadful against the run. And in general, a unit that's dealt with injury. Parts of them are too expensive. Some of them are aging. So for me, yeah, this guy's kind of a boom or bust, as you say. He's already had a suspension for fighting. He's had injuries. He's had basically missed games every season for some reason or another, or played a lot of slap count. So yeah, you're not going to invest high capital into him. But really, I look at giving him a situation to kind of see the field and kind of find his feet. Just stick him in a bad situation. That's kind of the best place he's going to learn. And he can learn from a guy like Derek Brownlee. Yes, he has got incredibly high cap hits in the next years. How long is he going to want to stay at the Panthers? I'm not sure. So let's add a bit of that juice to such a terrible defensive line right now.
Certainly can see that one happening. I've got a little bit of a different tangent. So I've actually got him going to the San Francisco 49ers. Let's just put that one in there. And why? Well, for me, there's a few reasons here as to why I would send him there. So the 49ers are basically going to be rebuilding that defensive line this year. And for me, it all depends on what priority they're putting on guys here. Personally, I think they're going to go for the edge first, opposite Bosa. I know you've got Gross Matos there, but he's not really reached his ceiling at this point. I think they're going to try and stick another premium pass rusher on that team first. But after that, you do need a defensive tackle, because at the minute it's Evan Anderson and Jordan Elliott. And if that's the same Evan Anderson I'm thinking of, he was the undrafted free agent out of Florida Atlantic last year. So you don't really have a lot of depth at position at the moment. But again, what do the 49ers like? The 49ers like these really violent pocket collapsing DTs and edges who first and foremost are going to go kill a quarterback. And that's what Norman Lott does well right away. But the D-line coaching at San Francisco, obviously Robert Saleh is back there now. That's the perfect place for him to, one, weed out his personal problems that he's had, and two, for him to weed out his technical problems, some of them to teach him properly to work against the run. But I think he is potentially going to give you a lot more value than where you're going to get him. I think the 49ers are the best place for him to harness that sheer raw ability whilst also milking that pass rush presence in its first year, along with Nick Bosa and another premium edge they put on and Gross Matos there as well. So yeah, I think he would do very well in San Francisco. About halfway through this now. And now we're starting to get to the tough picks, where we're going into day three territory now. And pick 114, another Detroit Lions favorite on mock drafts. We've got the cornerback Quincy Riley out of Louisville, 6 foot, 195 pounds. Pro Football Network has him going to the Panthers, and like we were saying earlier, the Panthers need somebody opposite JC Horn because right now it is Mike Jackson. They believe it is going to be Quincy Riley. Where do you believe Quincy Riley is going to go, Rye?
I've got him going to the Jaguars because their secondary is one of the worst in the league. And they gave Tyson Campbell a crazy contract that wasn't warranted, and I don't think he deserved. And at some point, I reckon they end up taking the cheapest way out and cutting him. It's not good. Like I said, there's not a lot of depth there. They've had a lot of turnover of injuries on Quincy Riley. Yeah, he's got a lot of experience under his belt, long time player, has a lot of flaws, but like you say, he's agile. He's got good fluid. Like you say, his back pedal's clean. He can learn on the job. They just need new, fresh faces because it's a unit that is probably one of the weaker ones in the league, and even top heavy, it's just not that good. And if they're going to want to compete with, like you say, the added firepower that's getting added to the AFC South every year, they're going to have to start adding some potential DBs in there.
Right. So I'm gonna send him somewhere. I'm gonna add to your thunder from earlier. So I'm going to send him to the Washington Commanders, and this was a lot of the reasoning behind why you sent Darian Porter there earlier. For me, the Commanders are gonna go for an edge player first. So they're not gonna. I don't think they're gonna address corner early because they need to. But I think the edge player is gonna be the first man up. So then you're gonna come into the day two picks and Quincy Riley is going to belong in day two, I think, this year. I think this mock undervalues him a little bit. And for me, I think they will give Marshawn Lattimore one more year whilst a rookie sits behind him, getting ready to take his place over the long term. And for me, Quincy Riley just needs that year to refine himself a little bit. But the same reason with Porter for you, they run zone a lot in Washington and they want a corner who is very well vested in zone coverage, which Quincy Riley is. I think he fits the profile, he fits them schematically, and I think he fits their timeline, as I say, with one more year or half a year of Lattimore before he gets the starting job there. And he's very productive, but he's a very violent cornerback as well. Like he is one of the more physically aggressive guys, and in a league against the Eagles, the Eagles have shown how to do it. You need to get guys who are ready to get in guys' faces and give as good as they take, especially when it comes to the run game. So I think he works well and fills a lot of needs for the Washington Commanders, Quincy Riley does. So that is where I expect him to go. Let us move it on. And I believe we got another DT popping up the ranks now. So at 129, we've got the defensive tackle Simeon Barrow from the Miami of Florida Hurricanes. He is 6'3", 290 pounds. Started off his career at Michigan State for 3 years, I think it was. He's had a year in Miami. He is known as a run defense specialist, especially this year. He's been incredible in the run game, but he has got a hidden pass rush side to him, and he had 7 sacks as well this year. So flashing the ability to potentially be a high-level dual-purpose defensive tackle. I think this is one of the more criminally underrated tackles in this draft cycle. PFN has him going to the Ravens, which makes sense. Obviously, they like their guys in this vein. They need a little bit more from the D tackle position alongside, obviously, their star man in there at the minute, especially when it comes to getting to the quarterback. They might have gone edge at this point as well, so I can see it happening. But for you, right, Simeon Barrow, the underappreciated Hurricanes DT, where does he go for you?
Oh, he screams lion. I've got him going to Detroit. Like I say, he's an every down player. He is the only, I believe, Michigan State player in history to block multiple field goals in a season. He plays every unit and every phase of the game. Like I say, excellent against the run. Like I say, he came into Miami, started, like I say, 12 out of 13 games the season he got there, established himself as a cornerstone on defensive line, and then added pass rush up the middle. The guy can do everything. Sheds blocks, he finishes, and he's just, like I say, he just swallows guys up in the middle. I think he can do everything. And I don't think he'll cost you a lot. And I think we're going to have to make some decisions about guys like DJ Reed and that in future. Like, say, at what point do you move on? This guy feels like a kind of instant kind of body like you can add in there. I think he makes a great fit for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Could see that one happening. For me, obviously with his run defense speciality, I've been taking a look at some of the teams that really need help against the run, especially on their D line, but that have the D tackle depth to not really expose him right away. I've got him going to the New Orleans Saints. So in terms of yardage, they were the second worst in the NFL last year, behind only the Carolina Panthers, who by far and away were in front of everybody else. But the Saints have had problems with the run in recent years, and that defensive line needs some work doing it. Now, obviously, early doors, they need a new right tackle to replace Ramchick, who's retired. And I think there's a few other areas they need to target with their earlier picks. But when you get to this point in the draft, they do need a D tackle, because who have you got there at the minute? You've got Brian Brzee. You've traded for Devin Godshire as well. But again, Breezy's had his injury history in there as well. He's still not a surefire thing for the long term. Godshire, you don't know how much you're going to keep him for. If they only traded a seventh for him, so it wasn't anything major. So you've still got questions about the long termness of the position at DT. And Barrow's just going to need a little bit of time to develop as a pass rusher. But New Orleans like their guys who can get to the quarterback through the interior. You know, it's been a staple of theirs that they've been without these last couple of years because they can't pay them all. So for me, Barrow makes a lot of sense to go to the New Orleans Saints, and he did meet with them at the combine, although he'll have met with a lot of teams. But there is at least a little bit of sustenance behind it. So yeah, I've got Simeon Barrow going to the Saints. Let's move on to our next one, and we have next out the bag. A cornerback. So we got the cornerback Tommy Hill out of Nebraska. He is 6 foot 205 pounds. And again, Carolina Panthers, they've been given a cornerback by Pro Football Network. So two corners in a row it was for them here. They do need corner and corner depth, so it could happen. Tommy Hill, obviously, very famously, absolutely blanketed Travis Hunter this year, and Travis Hunter named him as the best cornerback that he's come up against in college football. He is insanely talented, but he's been working this year. He had I can't pronounce it. It's like a plantar fasciitis
Fasciitis, yeah.
plantar
Rolling foot.
fasciitis injury. He's been so he's not been at full strength this year. He's been playing with injury a lot of this year, which has kind of limited his ceiling and development. But the fact is, he's played through it all season, so he's a tough son of a gun who is a high level corner. But he's not been at the combine. And he didn't work out at his pro day either. So this injury it's further knocking him down because people don't know quite how serious it is. But there is a day two, a day two level guy in there. So the value you can get potentially is insane. And somebody eventually is going to take a flyer on him. But Ryan, who is it for you? Is it Carolina or is it somebody else?
No, it's Green Bay. They've got an alarming cornerback situation. You look at recent guys like Kevin King and Eric Stokes, high draft picks, flamed out pretty quick. Jair Alexander, I can't believe he's still there because the guy's basically got a hospital wing named after him. He just can't be trusted anymore. And that leaves Keyshawn Nixon, good corner, great returner, and then they've brought in Nate Hobbs, like I said, from the Vegas Raiders, who's good, but none of these scream long-term option. I like to say the backups behind them. Well, we went after guys like Carrington Valentine and that, and Kalen King. They just ain't it, and they may never be stars. They need to go out there and take a chance on a guy. And as you say, with the injuries, with the stalled off season, like I say, if he slides to round three, round four, he's a perfect kind of guy that you can just, like I say, just get him in. Don't throw him in straight away. You don't need to, but they need to upgrade their corner room massively because a lot of us have gone after them and found a lot of success.
Absolutely. Can see that one happening. Me, I've got Tommy Hill going to the New England Patriots. So I reckon with Mike Vrabel now, like I said, the first thing Mike Vrabel is going to do is install his defense. That is what he does. His teams live and die, sorry, by his defense. I think they'll take Abdul Carter at four, and then you work your way back. So again, this is a good situation. So they don't need starters at corner in New England right now, but they do need depth and new prospects going forward to secure the long-term future of the position. And for where they're picking and for the value we are potentially going to get with him because of how far he falls, I think when you start taking flyers on day three, because he wants as many starter level guys as he can, as quick as he can, I think Vrabel's gonna really like him again. This is another one who is just on his day. He's very clever, but he plays with as good as he gets. He plays violent, and I think he'll suit Vrabel's style of football and he'll, go in the depth positions there. They don't need a starter right away. So I think it fits the team, it fits the player, fits the scheme. So that's where I've got Tommy Hill going there. Next up, we have a tackle. Dalton Cooper of Oklahoma State, 6'7", 315 pounds. I know a guy you've admired quite a bit over this time as well. He's at 206 here. We're reaching our 200 picks now. We're getting on to day three. I'm not sure he deserves to be in that conversation, but PFN has him going to the New York Giants, which makes sense as they need depth and they need prospects on the line because nothing is surefire on their offensive line. But right, Dalton Cooper, he's been around forever and a day, vastly experienced, start a ton of reps behind him. Where do you see him going?
Oh, he's got the Dolphins. Their O-line stinks. Even when it's healthy, it's terrible at running the ball. It's very rarely healthy. Teron Armstead, like you say, showing his age, battling injuries. Austin Jackson out for a serious injury. They need new blood. They've got to find a guy, like you say, to protect Tua because Tua's time is ticking. As you say, like you say, he can't afford another concussion, let alone they need to think about the future. These guys are expensive and they're performing badly. It's time to start get some serious potential depth in.
Yep, absolutely. So for me, Dalton Cooper, I've got him going to the Los Angeles Rams. So he is going to be a development project for at least 1 year. And when we look at the Rams situation, obviously you've got Rob Havenstein there at right tackle. He's in the last year of his deal. He's going to be age 34 by the 2026 season. So the Rams need to get sorting out their succession plan for their right tackle. Now, obviously, Dalton Cooper's played at left his entire career, but the Rams, is it Alaric Jackson at left tackle? I don't think he's a long-term fixture there either. I think if you're going to start taking development projects and building them to be the next guy, I think Dalton Cooper would fit very well there. And they're a team who love to run the ball as well. So if you want to bring him in year one as the sixth man, if you're getting the heavy jumbo packages out, you want to run it that way and potentially maybe even see a bit of football because, again, with the amount he's played, I think, he's going to fit in sooner rather than later. So I think it's a good place for him to sit, learn, develop, and then be a starter by this time next year at a position that they're going to need this time next year. So I really do fancy Dalton Cooper to go to the Rams. Now let's make our journey into the 200s and see who we've been given. Next up, we got the defensive tackle Tonka Hemingway out of South Carolina, 6'3", 288 pounds. One of many intriguing prospects coming out of South Carolina this year, and we're talking about the DTs on Monday. I reckon a lot of these guys are really underrated, but a lot of them have had breakout years this year because that South Carolina defense finally was able to click. And I think Tonka, he's very experienced. He's got a lot going for him. But where do you reckon, Ryan, that Tonka Hemingway ends up?
You've sent a DT there already. The Saints, as you say, the defense stopping the run in particular is dreadful. It's old, it's battered, and it was a wet paper bag for most part of the season. And the quickest way to put a plaster over a bad D line is get a guy in that can be a mauler against the run and has pass rush upside. He's experienced. The competition that they've brought in right now, he should be able to compete with it straight away. And he will see lots of depth as a rookie. Like I said, I really like him. I'd kind of like to pick him But no, I think for an immediate need, he's a potential challenger in camp straight away to guys like Davon Godshow.
Right, so you've got him going to the Saints. I forgot to mention Pro Football Network are going to send him to the Jets. They're starting, obviously, you got Quinn Williams here, but they do need a running mate for Quinn Williams. I think they'll probably go higher, but they need depth as well. So potentially could be that guy. Me, I've got him going to the Tennessee Titans, and this is another fit I really like for him. So obviously the Titans at this point, they don't need a starter. You've got Devondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons there. You are sorted at the position. You've drafted Keandre Coburn recently as well, but you need a different type of tackle in there. A lot of these, Devondre Sweat, he's the big hulking run stopper. Jeffrey Simmons, he's quite a big dude as well, loves to get the quarterback foot. For me, Hemingway gives you a little bit more. He's a little smaller. He's a little guy who's going to send you after the quarterback a little more, get you a bit of that interior pass rush pressure. Is something that the Titans don't have on their roster right now. But there is no way he needs to start right away. He can settle into a development role. He can settle into a rotation role, work his way up to where he wants to be, and be a little bit something different for that Titans defensive line. And again, they're really good at developing those players there. So I think he's going to be in a nice position to sit and round out his game. So I've got Tonka Hemingway going to the Titans. Next up on our list, we got the cornerback Jamari Harris out of Iowa, 6'1", 189 pounds. Pro Football Network has sent him to the San Francisco 49ers, who do need depth at corner. Now, obviously, the lineage that he's coming from here, he's coming from a really good team, but it's not gotten a lot of love in the process. He's at number 227 here. Where do you see Jamari Harris going, Ryan?
I've got him going to the Buffalo Bills. They've traded away Kaiir Elam. They've let their best corner, Russell Douglas, go. And you look at their depth chart right now, Benford, Dane Jackson, they've hit the reset button. Like I say, it's a room that right now, it looks like it should be in the UFL. With no disrespect to them guys, yeah, they need to add some guys. And like I say, Jamari Harris had a good career. Like I say, he's big, he's strong, he can play. Like I say, he can ideally play. I think they play a lot of zone. Russell Douglas, one of the better zone contacts. I think they can put a guy in like him in straight away and he can compete with the guys they've already got on the roster.
Okay, I absolutely see that one. You've got the Bills there. For me, I am sending him to the Los Angeles Rams. Another place where they need depth corners, maybe over starters. But for me, this is a scheme thing at this point. So he is incredibly good when it comes to his zone coverage. It's what the Iowa guys like to do. He's another one of those who can sit there. He baits quarterbacks into bad throws. He jumps routes. He's going to fit into a team that runs quarters-based systems. It's very scheme-specific thing. The Rams are one of the teams who like to do that. I think the Broncos do it as well. Something Peyton likes to do. But I think what they need, and at this point in the draft where they're going to be picking, I just see it as a really nice, nifty scheme fit for him to go there. I think that's where he'll be able to flourish. And the Rams, by and large, seem to do a decent job, especially with their later round picks in the defensive back room and be able to develop them the way they want to. And he's coming from good coaching in Iowa. I think he's going to go to the Rams and he's going to flourish there. Again, he will give you production far based over the round 6 pick that he is here. Let's move on to the next player. And we've got the wide receiver Elijah Badger out of Florida, 6'1", 192 pounds. Former Arizona State Sun Devil, took the same route that Ricky Pearsall did a couple of years ago, although he's not going to be picked anywhere near as high. He's picked at 234 here. And Pro Football Network has him going to Seattle. And I guess you think about the combative type of wide receivers they like to take there. I could potentially see that. But obviously, you've seen quite a lot of Elijah Badger, right? He's been a Sun Devil type of receiver, is he? And where do you think he goes?
I think he goes to the Houston Texans. Stephon Diggs is gone. Tank Dell might never be the same again. with such a significant injury. He's got, like, say, a good year and a half, 2 year comeback. They added in Christian Kirk, which don't like that move at all. CJ Stroud needs help. Like I say, Badger, primarily a slot guy, 6'1", 190. Had a good productive career. Like I say, he's a late round, 6, 7 round flyer. Like I say, he could be someone that could see the field and could kind of contribute straight away as a rookie. Even Nico Collins misses games, so it'd be a pretty good room for him to land in straight away and mix it in with the guys that are going to try fill the holes that are left by two huge names, Diggs and Dell.
Absolutely see that one happening. Me, I have him going to the Carolina Panthers. Now, the Panthers have done a real good job, especially with some of their later round draft picks at the receiver position. Obviously, Jalen Coker is turning into an absolute star for them. But outside of that, you've got Adam Thielen, but he is getting on in age, and eventually he will be done. You've got Xavier Legette, who started to flash last year, but is by no means a sure thing. But they're going to be your tandem to start this year, the three-way tandem. After that, you've not got a lot. You've got Dax Milne, you've got guys like that in there, but no surefire prospects. I think another prospect like Badger going into that room, again, maybe a little bit of a different receiver to what they've got on the roster. He's got a vested veteran to learn from. It's a young, very talented room. I think you add another guy in there for Bryce Young. I think they'll probably go higher for receiver as well, but I think they will draft two receivers in this draft. One who's going to start right away and then one who's going to be another development guy to flesh out their depth room because it ain't the best depth room in the world. And for me, the Panthers is a good landing spot for him. On to the next guy. Not got too many to go now. Got about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more to go. Now, this is interesting. The next one, we're back into our running backs and we've got 3 in a row. But this is one who you've seen a lot of over the years because he is a Big 12 guy. He's seen him play against Arizona State. Taj Brooks, the big, beefy running back out of Texas Tech, 5'10", 230 pounds. He is Texas Tech's all-time leading rusher. I think it was about 4,600 yards he's amassed in his career there. And he did miss a little bit of time due to injury as well, so it probably could have been 5,000 if he'd tried. But this is one of those guys, right, he's potentially a running back one. He is a bell cow running back who will take the ball 20, 30, 35 times in a game if you need him to, because he's just durable as shit, and he will get you those hard, dirty yards you want. You've got to imagine teams looking for a running back one in day 3, but not wanting to pay a day 1 price for one are going to be right in on this guy. And PFN's keeping him in state. They're sending him to the Houston Texans. Do you see him staying in Texas, or have you got him going elsewhere?
No, I've got him as the option if the Bears go a different route. I've got him going to Chicago because they don't have a running back for me right now that wants to do the dirty stuff. Swift is a little bitch, he's a coward. Roshan Johnson is elite athlete, dual threat kind of guy. But if you want a guy to do the Craig Reynolds kind of stuff, like I said, that the Adrian Peter stuff between the tackles and the goal line, the physical hard carries between the new guards you've brought in the centre. You want him to run behind centre, and you just spent a load of money on Drew Dalman. I think this is a Ben Johnson kind of move to make sure that you can be physical, especially on short down yardage, and then also he's able to carry bodies with him further once he gets up to speed.
All right, so you've got him
Just
going to
lack
the Bears.
physicality. They've been soft in the run game for too long.
I wouldn't like to see Taj Brooks in Chicago. I'm not going to lie, but that would be a great pick for them. Me, I do have him staying in the state of Texas, but I have him going to the other Texas side. I've got him going to the Dallas Cowboys. I'm not so sure the Cowboys are going to spunk a high-level draft pick on a running back this year. They've got way too many other problems to solve, especially at receiver. You got holes on that offensive line. I think they're going to go more into day 3 to look for their guy of the future. And as mentioned, Taj Brooks can be a running back one for you, and they like this kind of guy, like what Zeke was for years. He was a bell cow running back. They just ran him again and again and again and again and just completely wore him down. But this is a guy, he's at 230. He is going to be an absolute bulldozer for you. You want to put someone behind Dak who's just going to take all the load off him and be able to have an impact in games. I think Taj Brooks makes a lot of sense here for him. I believe he's a boyhood Cowboys fan as well. So he's played in state. He's a fan of the team. They have met him as well. And I think he gives you terrific value at that spot. He gives you instant production in the NFL. And hope, I mean, it's Jerry Jones. He might take the shiny pick early and this might be null and void. Or they might take two running backs because the room ain't exactly fleshed out either. So if he's going to be running back two next year, fine. Do not mind that at all. But I think he will end up with the Dallas Cowboys. Taj Brooks will. The second in our trio of running backs we were given here. And again, interested to get your thoughts on this because I know you really like this guy compared to a lot of others. Phil Maffer, the running back out of Clemson, 6'1", 230 pounds. And again, like Taj Brooks, Phil he's had to wait a long time in college behind other running backs. Obviously, Will Shipley for years, he was the backup guy too. He's come in, he's played really well as a starter this year, and I think he's only just begun to scratch the surface. Obviously, he's not got a lot of starting reps there, so he's a little bit behind in his development. But if you really want someone who could potentially one day be a running back one, but you want to pay a day three price as opposed to a day one price, again, Phil Maffer's in the direction that you go, but he can start on your depth chart right away. Phil Maffer, right? You've seen him a lot. Which team do you think would take the plump on him? Because Pro Football Network says Patriots, and Patriots do need depth places, so maybe he might go there. But where do you think he goes?
I've got him going to Buffalo because James Cook has made no secret that he wants $15+ million a year. He's told every podcast they're going, and Buffalo is yet to really enter serious negotiations. Phil Maffer is a no-nonsense between the tackles, doesn't want to catch passes out the backfield, doesn't want to cut. There's no real move to him. He's just a hard-nosed, physical, straight line north and south runner that will offer depth. If the Bills, for any reason, are at threat of losing James Cook, I would go out there right now and be looking for a cheap, reliable option that can run between the tackles in case you have to make a difficult decision in the coming months, or maybe go want to tag Cook maybe next year, like I say, where it gets really expensive. So go out there and bring in some cheap, reliable day three options right now, just in case that, like I say, the worst happens.
So in about 2 or 3 minutes, I'm going to use the exact same argument for somebody else there, but I absolutely do agree. So you've got him going to the Buffalo Bills. Me, Phil Maffer, I've got him going to the Los Angeles Chargers. So for me, for all the reasons you've just said there, he's an old school running back who, first and foremost, likes to ground and pound, who likes to be that bell cow guy. And what is the head coach of the LA Chargers, if anything but original? He is old school. He likes an old school ground and pound running back who is just going to go out there, churn out the dirty yardage for him, and do that first and foremost between being a passing threat there. So you look at the Chargers' sitch this year. Obviously, you bring in Najee Harris. It was some debate whether he's been a failure in Pittsburgh or not, but he's all right. But he ain't your long-term option potentially at running back there. After that, you go to the depth chart. You got Kamani Vidal, Hassan Haskins. You've got no established depth there. You ain't got a bona fide running back one in waiting to replace Najee Harris. Phil Maffer goes there, you instantly get him as running back two, and if Najee breaks down or he doesn't look like he's going to be able to do his job there, I think Phil Maffer is one where he could sneakily get up to the top of that depth chart by the end of the year, and because of his old school pedigree, I think Jim Harbaugh will love him, and I don't think the Chargers will go out early and get a running back before this point. I think they will wait till day three, because I think if the board doesn't fall their way, they would happily roll with Najee, but I think you'll get to day three and they'll find a pick where they take him. So I've got Maffer going there. And then the next up, we've got another running back because this simulator just really wanted to kill us this time. And we got Trevor Etienne. We've got the Georgia running back, 5'9", 205 pounds. Again, like his predecessor, James Cook, not a lot of mileage on the clock, but he has been very effective when called upon. And there's a lot of tread left for him in the NFL. And for that reason alone, for the first time, I'm going to go first this time, if you don't mind, because I'm exactly going to rehash what you said 2 or 3 minutes ago. The Bills don't want to pay James Cook 15 to 20 million a year or whatever the hell he's asking for. And who gets the best out of Georgia running backs who have not necessarily played the most? There's a lot to develop about them, but they're patient and they will get the best. I think Trevor Etienne was the successor for James Cook when he left Georgia. I think he's going to be the successor for him when he leaves Buffalo when they don't want to pay him. I think they will go down the same route as they did before. Trevor Etienne, again, potential to be that bell cow back, but he has good hands. He's a good pass catcher. You can do the whole dual threat stuff with him like the Bills do with James Cook, and you're going to get him at an absolute fraction of the price. So I think Trevor Etienne is the second underutilized Georgia running back to go to the Bills. But where do you have him going? Because Pro Football Network has him going to the Bears, so depth down their chart, I can see that. Where have you got him?
I've got him going to play with his brother. I've got him going to the Jags.
Ooh.
Right, because he offers something that they don't have. You've got Tanks Bigsby. You've got the muscle. You've got the henchman, the bouncer on the door that can kick it in. Travis, for me, I think he's been a bit of a letdown. The numbers look good, but I don't think he's got the funniest chance to do the funniest thing ever and usurp his brother in a rotation and try to take away carries from him. As you said, very low tread on the tires. Like you say, he's short, he's diminutive, but he's tricky, he's efficient, he makes the most of carries. Yes, he's had some trouble, been discipline issues in the past, but let's be honest, Jacksonville's never been the best judge of character, has it? The staff or the players, so that doesn't really matter. And the depth behind Travis and Tank right now is just not there. Third on the depth chart, they have Louis Rees-Zammit. Like you say, they need an option. Like you said, this guy, he won't be a lot. And his brother might little whisper in his ear, like, bring him here, maybe I can help him.
Right, so you've got the brothers reuniting in Jacksonville. Let's move it on. And finally, out of our running back, we got one left in this, and that's not right till the very end. We got a linebacker up next. We got Kobe King, the Penn State linebacker, Mr. Chunky, 6'1", 248 pounds. He is a big man who, again, another one who's kind of been derailed by injury a bit during his career, but he's coming from a team where technique is king. They've got a good production line coming up to the NFL, whether they be day one picks, day three picks. But obviously he's a development linebacker going forward. Probably someone who wants a bigger, chunkier middle linebacker to help deal with some pesky bell cow running backs in their conference. Pro Football Network has him going to the Philadelphia Eagles, and potentially he could, because they need depth linebackers there, and they need a bigger guy in that linebacker room. But where do you have Kobe King going, Ryan?
Oh, I've got him going at Raiders. Robert Spillane and Divine Diablo have left a huge gaping hole in the middle of that defense, and it needs someone that can play against the run. And Kobe King can play against the run. As you say, he's short, but he's squat. He's thick with two C's. He's great in the box. He's very comfortable. He'll see playing time straight away. Spillane was a big loss. He was like the heart, the kind of like the leader in the middle. So kind of like that they're yearning for some like young depth right now to come in and like say stabilize that room. So yeah, he'd be a good addition straight away. Will see playing time. He'll learn from his mistakes, but they need to find a new green dot wearer.
All right, you've got Kobe King going to the Raiders. I have him going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So for me, when you look at the Bucs and their situation there, obviously you've got Levante David. He's coming into his last years. You want to start looking more at your middle linebackers there because you've got a lot of guys who can rush the passer. Obviously, you've got Yaya Diaby, Savachier Dennis, these outside linebacker types there. Chris Braswell they got last year. But in terms of guys in the middle of the field, the depth chart isn't the deepest for them there. And I think you want to start prepping your next guy going forward for when David is done. And for me, King, he's a lot different. He's a bit bigger. He's a bit chunky. He's going to help with that run defense. Obviously, you like your big guys in the middle. You got Vita Vea up there. Vita Vea, Kobe King, you can absolutely stuff the middle of your run defense where you've got all these exciting outside linebacking pass rushers on your roster as well. I think that is just a nice fit for them. He will slide in down the depth chart. He'll sit. he'll learn in a coaching room, which is incredibly good at developing the talent there. And I think in time he will become a very effective player for the Tampa Bay Bucks. So I have him going there to Tampa. Down to our last few now. We got a lot down here in the 200s. Next up, we've got tight end. We got Thomas Fidone II from Nebraska. He is 6'6", 255 pounds. He is a big boy indeed. And another who's probably not going to get drafted here. He's going to get drafted a lot higher. This tight end class, he's one of the ones, like Mason Taylor, who has really elevated his stock coming into this year. Pro Football Network has him going to the Dallas Cowboys, another big tight end weapon for Dak Prescott there. Where do you see Fidone II going to, Ryan?
I think he'd be a good option for the Saints because at his age and the amount of wear and tear and tread on his tires, Taysom Hill is definitely coming towards the end of his career. He will not be the same after that devastating ACL, and their tight end room really does leave a lot to be desired. Doesn't matter who the quarterback's going to be, they've always liked their tight end player. And like I said, the coaching staff that's there right now, I don't think they'll want to go away from that way possible. Fedoni had a great combine. Like I say, looks like a guy that will probably come in straight away there and have an immediate impact as a rookie.
Right, so you've got Fedoni. I did think about that. Obviously they've just put Jawan Johnson in there. I don't know, but he could fit down the depth chart. He's certainly one of the teams I thought about here. But I am going to send him to the Miami Dolphins, and for me, this is a good fit because the Dolphins have done, if anything, very well with their tight ends. Obviously, they made Miles Gesicki. He's played really well. You've got Jonnu Smith there now, but you need a guy after Jonnu Smith because the depth ain't really there at tight end for them. And if you want a brand new, exciting weapon in time who's not going to cost you the money that Jonnu Smith does, I think Fedone is going to be immediately he will be a receiving weapon for Tua. You can teach the blocking stuff there. They have a couple of block specialists in, but you'll slide him in at probably tight end 3, maybe even tight end 2 if you value him a little bit more than Julian Hill. But he'd be the long-term replacement there for when Jonnu Smith's done as the receiving tight end threat. And I think, again, they need weapons on this team, and this can be a day 3 weapon who can give you production quite early in his NFL career whilst the Dolphins deal with more pressing needs elsewhere. So I got Fedoni going to Miami, Ryan to New Orleans. Down to our last 3 now. Who is our third to last one to go? Really, really interested here, Ryan. So Max Brosmer, the quarterback out of Minnesota. Now he is drafted in this draft, 6'2", 225 pounds, pocket passer extraordinaire who has shown off his arm during this process. He has had a wonderful post-season run when it comes to answering some of the questions about him and what he's about. Can he throw the deep ball? He showed he could at the combine, and we've been chatting about him for a long time now, saying he deserves to be drafted. Now, the simulator has him going to the Saints. Now, given that Spencer Rattler's there already and whatnot, and Derek Carr's going to be the quarterback this year, but there is maybe need for another guy there because none of them are a surefire answer for this. But where do you think Max Brosmer goes to sit and develop behind an established starter?
I don't see any reason for him to leave the state of Minnesota.
Ooh.
Jaron Hall, Josh Dobbs, Nick Mullins, Sam Darnold, all gone. They're willing over Aaron Rodgers. But do you know who the backup right now is? Is Brett Ripien. That's the only other quarterback I see on the roster behind JJ McCarthy. Daniel Jones gone, like I say. Do you know what? Maybe he could be a dark horse. Maybe he could battle JJ McCarthy. Like I say, he could be into a race as a stand and deliver pocket passer that they've always liked. Sam Darnold, Nick Mullins, guys that want to air the ball out with good arms. I think this move kind of makes sense for him. Like I say, he doesn't have to start with. He never has to see the field at all. Like I say, maybe he never is that guy. But right now, they lack depth. So them looking at their local guys at their local pro day, they should give him a strong look. Like I say, he might probably go, maybe goes undrafted. Like I say, and then they bring him in anyway, just the fact that he's a local kid. Like I say, they'll look at him as golden gopher. But yeah, there's a chance for him to make a way on the roster pretty quickly. Is there just hope he's not called upon too soon? Because we don't know what's going to happen with JJ McCarthy. Like it's a healing, the body will be fine, but the arm, the head, it might all take a little bit of time to come together.
I very strongly considered also sending him to the home state team, but then I thought about it and I thought there's another team out there who has turned a day three pick into an absolute star. They're gonna have to pay him an absolute shed ton of money soon,
I
and
know where you're
maybe
going
they
with that.
don't want to. They like their pocket passers who are extremely accurate over the short to intermediate and have a little bit of a deep ball on them. They have a scheme which can protect a young rookie quarterback, and they have a big emphasis on the run game as well. And for, potentially a long-term starting job if they don't want to give this guy 60 million a year, I'm sending Max Brosmer to the San Francisco 49ers, where I think, his skill set, what he's about. He's not going to need to start day one because, of course, they're going to go with Brock Purdy this year. But if it carries on and they have the contract issues and they are not able to sort this out, this is the place where he could sit and thrive because the scheme doesn't ask too much of your quarterback. It allows him to do what he is best at. And I do genuinely think he can start games in this league. At worst, Max Brosmer will become a specialist backup quarterback for them for many years to come, so that when a starter does go down, if it is Brock Purdy who does go down, you bing Brosmer in and nothing changes in terms of the type of quarterback you've got and his ability. So this is low-key a match I really like and would love to see happen with old Max there. So it was either going to be the 49ers or the Vikings, and I settled on the 49ers. Two to go. And another guy who, again, you've chatted about for a long time. We've liked him for a long time. The injuries have kind of kept him down a bit. We have the wide receiver, Brew McCoy, out of Tennessee, 6'3", 230 pounds, picked at 256 in this mock draft, which I think is a little disingenuous, and he will go a little bit higher. Everything you want, right, in a perimeter wide receiver, an X wide receiver, the tenacity, the physicality, the separation ability, the high pointing, everything you want from this guy he's got, but injuries have just derailed him his entire career, which is why he probably will be a day three pick. Now the simulator has him going to the LA Chargers, which again I could see he's in that Harbaugh style wide receiver role, and they do need depth guys there on the roster. But Brew McCoy, a guy you have liked for a long time, where do you think he fits best in the NFL and who takes him?
You said earlier that the Carolina Panthers like day three receivers. There you go. He's got a checkered injury past, but yeah, it's time to prepare for the life without Adam Thielen. And they hit on Jalen Coker last year. They can do it again this year. Ease him in, like I say, perimeter guy. Give a Bryce Young that second half of the year looks really good. Give him some more weapons. And Dave Canales likes his big perimeter guys like Mike Evans. Brew McCoy is built like Mike Evans. Like I say, he just needs to stay healthy. That's out of our control. But like I say, if he goes UDFA, like I say, you pick him up. Like I say, he could produce in his rookie year. Like you say, if he can stay healthy. So yeah, I think he's a good option to pick up then. They should be loading their receiver room right now and giving Bryce every chance to succeed.
Absolutely, they should. So for me, when I look at Brew McCoy, he needs to go into the right situation. So he needs somewhere where he's going to be the development X receiver, possibly behind someone who's on like a 1 year deal or something like that. He
I know
wants
who
to
that sounds
go
like.
to a team who plays gritty, nasty football in his style. He's not afraid to get his hands dirty. He's not afraid to run block. He's not afraid to go out there and put his body on the line. And he wants to go to somewhere where there's a GM who's particularly very patient with players dealing with injuries and willing to give them the benefit of the doubt
I
on
think I
that
know where you're going with
roster.
this.
Yeah, it's the very first time that I've picked one here, but I have him potentially as a new Detroit Lion. Now, there are many ways you can go about this. For me personally, I would be putting the day two pick into the next X wide receiver going forward, specifically Ricky White, as we all know. But there are many ways to do drafts, and they could go day one, day two, or day three to go and find that development X of the future. And, Tim Patrick if anyone understands what injury has done to the body and how to fight through it mentally as a tutor, Tim Patrick's the perfect tutor for a guy like Brew McCoy to help nurse him through this and the problems that he's had and how to condition himself to recover from these type of injuries. But he has the attitude we need. He is at a position and going to be on the depth chart at a position we need. For me, Brew McCoy does tick all the boxes to be a Detroit Lion, and we could potentially do it on day three. So, yeah, I got Brew being a Lion. And then the very last one. So, this is the last one. If anyone's got any other questions they want to ask about anything else today, college-wise or that, before we get out of here, get them in the chat now so that I can answer them as soon as we finish this. Number 30, and I'm pretty sure we got Mr. Irrelevant last year. Well, we've been given the Mr. Irrelevant pick again this year, and Mr. Irrelevant this year, of course, it's going to be a running back, because why not? We've had 7 already. This time we've got Jaquindon Jackson, the running back out of Arkansas. He is 6'2", 233 pounds. Again, another one of these big, hulking running backs who he's had his little issues as well, but he's been a very solid starter for some time now. Probably going to have him as a depth bell cow piece on your roster for the most part. Maybe he turns into a running back one guy one day. He has the potential to. Now, similar to my reasoning earlier when it was coming to Cleveland Browns and running backs taking Caleb Johnson, they are giving a big, thick running back to the Browns to try and fill that Nick Chubb-sized hole. So Jaquindon Jackson's going to the Browns according to PFN. Ryan, the very last pick of the lot, where is Jaquindon Jackson going as Mr. Irrelevant?
He's going to the New York Giants. They're still reeling after the loss of Saquon Barkley and then watching him get a measurement for a ring on his finger. They've got an interesting mix right now. Eric Gray, Tyrone Tracy Jr., Devin Singletary. They all showed flashes last year. Like I said, none of them stood out. There were a lot of turnovers and fumbles. Let's give them a no-nonsense, one-speed, physical jackhammer. Like I say, because the QB situation will be interesting, to say the best. Russell Wilson, Tommy DeVito, Jameis Winston. Like that's going to be fun and painful to watch at times. So yeah, let's get the Giants back to do what they do best and run the ball. Like I say, this guy's not fancy. He coughs the ball up a lot as well, but yeah, he'll do the dirty work and he'll free up the other guys, like I say, to do the big explosive plays.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. So for me to end this one off, I have Jaquindon Jackson going to the Tennessee Titans. Now we know the Titans generally love to run the football more than anything. Now they've brought in Tony Pollard. He's their lead guy there at the minute. You do have Tyjae Spears in behind, but what you do potentially lack with these guys is a long-term future bell cow who's going to be able to deal a lot of damage with his 230-pound frame, and you don't have any of this down the depth chart. So for me, he's a running back that the Titans lack. And he could again become that maybe 1B running back on your roster, and you're spending a day 3 pick on him. But he just gives you something a little different to what Tyjae Spears and Tony Pollard
Derrick
is.
Henry, innit? He runs
Yeah,
very upright. He's got one
yeah.
speed when he gets the gear, and like I say, he's a straight line head for the pylon.
Exactly. And again, you can sort of run out, your 2 starters, and you can let Tony Pollard do a lot of the stuff, and then you can bring Jaquindon Jackson in over time to be the new guy there. I do like that fit there a lot. So yeah, we'll just fill that one in, and we have the Tennessee Titans as the last. So that is it. That is our board. So again, for those who may have been watching halfway through and not know what we've done here, this is one of our draft challenges that we do. We pick 30 numbers at random in a generator between 1 and 257. Obviously, all the draft numbers there. We run a mock draft simulation, and then, with no human interference. And those 30 numbers, the players that land on those 30 numbers, we take their names down, put them in this spreadsheet. We put down the names of the teams that Pro Football Network thinks they're going to go to, because we use that simulator. And then me and Ryan, we have to fight against the machine, as it were, to see who can get the most right. We are unbeaten in this challenge, so hopefully we're going to go 2 for 2 this year. But there's a lot of picks in there, a lot of late round picks, so we will see. But hope you've enjoyed that. I always enjoy doing this. It's been a lot of good fun, and yeah, we got 20, 28, 29 days to the draft now. We did this as our last show last year, but I thought we'll do it a bit earlier this year, and then we can do some more college bits going forward. Marmark has been in there. He goes, I've not given much thought to the Vikes. Vikings only got 4 picks in the draft this year, I found out. So going to be interesting to see what they do to flesh out their picks, whether they want to use more or not. Marmarker goes, Niners have been my home team twice in my life. Then UFL starts this Friday. Do they take leftovers from the draft or directly from college? Oh, this is a question for you, I guess. So we're done with the challenge now. So UFL, leftovers from the draft directly from college. Where generally do they get their rosters from?
Uh, yeah, a lot of practice squad guys, a lot of guys that have not made the roster now, a lot of free agents, and they will be looking at UDFAs as well. Yeah, they will be calling guys that have got UDFA offers and guys that don't get drafted. So they will be fleshing out the rosters. I don't. They can kind of rotate players for most of the season. I think there's not many rules in that sense, but yeah, they are struggling with pay and that, so they may struggle after, like I say, they're going to be 5, 6 weeks into the season. But like I say, they cut guys on a regular. Their transaction list is busy every week, so they will get a lot of guys in that do not get drafted.
When does the UFL start? It's got to be soon, right?
Oh, and next in about 3 days,
Because we lost a head coach. Was it a head coach we lost a couple of days ago?
lost to
Or
DC, and he also took other coaches with him.
oh, did
Half
it?
the DC defenders front office is left for Tennessee State three
God.
days before their first game.
Oh wow. Yeah, that could be a fun one. So yeah, UFL is coming up soon there. Lisa goes, last pick I think could go to anyone who wants a true FB fullback. Absolutely. She goes, I think anyone who's not been picked up as drafted or UDFA may go to the UFL. Yeah, they're halfway through the season, but a lot of the undrafted picks will go there, or they'll go to Canada, or one or the other. Speaking of, Trey Lance might be going to Canada. He's what, someone putting rights on him or something? I
Yeah,
don't know
they
how
put
it
him on an
works.
official negotiations list, which means basically it's a list where I think it's players not in the league and a lot of non-Canadians, general North Americans, where you can only have so many designated slots. And it's basically it's an invitation. We want to negotiate a deal with you. His dad played for them. He was a defensive back, so he knows the area. I imagine he probably spent time in Canada growing up. It makes sense that way. So yeah, like I say, yeah, he from Monday they can officially talk to him and add him to their room.
When does his brother come out of college? Is it
He
this
decided to
year?
stay this
Oh, is
year
he
with
staying?
Bryce. He'll be coming out next year as a senior.
So maybe Lance wants to get a starter job somewhere back in the NFL
Bryce
before
will
his
be
little
a
brother.
big candidate for UFL and CFL with the ties as well as an ex-receiver.
Hmm. So they might be playing together there. Marmarker goes, I like these games, guys. Thank you. Yeah, appreciate that. Lisa goes, the Vikings will be good to trade up with. Potentially. Hang on. NFL draft value chart. And let me just message Matt as well to let him know we're nearly done. Where do the Vikings pick in the draft this year? They pick at 24. I know. Vikings do have 4 picks this year. Could you envisage a trade? See, that's what
Yeah,
I would
I
envisage.
think they'll ring Kwesi if they want someone.
Yeah, we've rang Quezzy. It feels like we've done a deal with him every year so
Done
far.
2 or 3 of him, yeah.
Yeah, we've done a lot of deals with Quasi. So at 24, if one of the edges falls or one of the DTs falls, I can absolutely see them doing some business with him. So yeah, Lisa, they certainly could. Any other questions you quickly want to get in before we get out of here? Just ask them right away, and we'll get to them. Just gonna let Matt know we're nearly done at the end here. Where is he? No, 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 unless he's already listening. Right, where were we? Yeah, my market. So it's Friday. The UFL starts. How can we watch it? Can we watch it? Is there a? I'm guessing with all this stuff going on with them, there's no chance of getting TV rights or anything for them.
No, there's no way to watch it over here at all.
Yeah, that sucks. Oh, mind you, maybe it's not going to be if they're still all striking over pay and stuff like that. Maybe it's going to
I'm not
be
sure how this season's
tough.
going to go. Like I say, it won't surprise me if at some point they'll be striking mid-season.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that. Oh God, that'd be the death knell to it, wouldn't it? What's it only been going 2 years in its current guise? This is second year in its current
Yeah,
guise.
because they never formed their own proper players' union. And I think the NFLPA tried to get involved. They didn't like that. And yeah, Quinton Dormady, one of the starting QBs in recent years, basically got sacked because of, like I say, trying to defend the players and rights. And yeah, he's saying, yeah, that they basically got rid of him because he's trying to unionize and fight back on poor wages. I think their game check's like $5,500.
Oh God, it's not much, is it?
A
I
lot,
guess in
yeah,
the
for a
grand
lot of
scheme
the
of
guys,
things.
like I say, a lot of them win bonuses and that. Unless you're the best team, I think a lot of the guys are struggling to make a living.
Are they medically insured? Like I know NFL players are. Do they get medically insured, or is it all out their own?
Uh, I think it's sketchy. I think they've got basic coverage, but
Uh,
it
I'd
doesn't even
say.
cover all that, I don't think.
See, if you tear your ACL or something, it's got to cost more than 5.5 grand to get your SEM fixed. That'd be a. I don't know why they don't use them as a feeder league for that. I was thinking about this the other day. For your spring leagues, how good an idea would it be for all these undrafted free agent types and that who are not going to get drafted, go to the UFL, play a full season in the UFL, and then, like how we have the supplementary draft, that stupid thing we do just before the season when no one ever gets picked in it. Why not do that? Give them a full chance to play off season and then redraft them all to, people are looking for roster spots and that. I think that would work perfect and it would give them, certainly the NFL could provide the money for the league. I think you should
With the
do that.
financial issues, it feels like give it a year or two, it'll be swapping hands again.
Yeah. The NFL take on the UFL, use it as a spring league, use it for all the players who don't get drafted, and then do a supplementary draft when the season's done and pick these guys up because
People
they've
think
got a
there should be
full off season
expansion.
behind
They
them.
can't afford to cover the league they've got now, let
No,
alone
no,
add
no,
any
no,
more
no, no,
teams. They've
no,
got too
no.
many teams as it is.
No, absolutely not.
Unfortunately, it feels doomed,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
pains me to say.
yeah. Well, Marcus says it's in its second year. Oh, you can watch it over there, but I guess we'll have to. If you want to stream it for us, we will.
I can
We
watch
will
YouTube
happily.
highlights on my
Yeah,
channel list. That's all I do.
unless you want to stream it for us, then we might watch that. But hey, who? Right, Matt is here. So again, if you have any quick last questions, do get them in there. I'll just go through the other bits. So on next shows, the next on show on the main podcast is obviously be on the Monday. We will be looking at offensive line prospects in the 2025 NFL draft of all shapes and sizes. Me and Ryan will be back next week with College Pod. Not 100% sure what we will be doing yet, because we've got a couple of weeks to go, but we will get something sorted for sure. Keep an eye out for more prospect videos coming up on YouTube as well. There'll be one coming up for Walter Nolan soon. And, let me know what you think about them. If they're no good, then, I want to hear about it. If you want to change anything about them, let me know, because, yeah, seems to have been good feedback on them so far. But, yeah, let me know what you think about those videos. So, yeah, I think that's everything there. Obviously, Roar of the Lions UK, you can find us all over the internet and all that good stuff. So just type us in, you will find us there. Don't forget to like and sub to all our good stuff as well. We appreciate you all for being with us, to Lisa, to Marker, to Brent, everybody. Hope you have enjoyed our draft challenge this evening. And yeah, we shall see you again on Monday. Until then, just remains for me to thank Ryan. Appreciate you as always. And we shall see you again soon. One Pride.
Recording stopped.